Okay guys, hi, this is Simon with Trade and Perform Coaching. Let's just set up some levels here that we're looking for coming into what will inevitably be a gap down Sunday night. I want to remind everyone, you don't have to trade this, right? Just skip. Mark will be here Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or even next week, right? The advantage of being a day trader is you can trade when the odds, the environment, and the setups all line up for you. Okay, so first let's start with ES, then we'll roll to NQ. Okay, so here's my ES hourly, and so the first thing I want to look at, so I'm going to erase these lines so I can go back, right? And I want to mark off everything below here, right, that has orange lines. And since I don't know where we're going to gap down, I really want to make these pretty deep. And I'm interested specifically in prior day's lows. Those are my highest odds. So guys, the way I'm going to do that is like this. I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to mark these things off. Now remember, on the way back up, they will act as resistance, but I prefer for them to get back above the level, backside test, and go. One of the many ways I have of finding support, right, and resistance. So these are going to all act. I prefer to trade long, so I'm going to be looking for the traps. If you want to short, there's nothing wrong with it, but yeah, not so much for me. So I can tell this area was fairly thick with prior day's lows and Globex lows, so that's what I'm looking for, is to seal off these positions to the left. And then if I was going to make special discretion, I might change the colors of the levels that were virgin levels, which you can tell all the members have this chart, but all I'm doing is marking off prior lows, right? I would mark this low in particular, that 58, 53 and a quarter, as very important because it was the swing low prior to this run up. So again, I would love if we could trade underneath 58, 53 and a quarter, recapture it at some point tonight or tomorrow, and then push back up. Same thing with this 59.30, though I have a feeling we'll gap well past it, right? I don't know that we'll go back up. I don't need to know that we'll go back up. I just need to know where to look. Again, I like to find where they cluster these levels all in the same place. Obviously, 75 to 69 will be an important area. The oranges are all old Globex lows, and the reds are prior days RTH lows. Right, so you can see now I'm at 60.16 down to 57.56. We went out at 60.16. I'm going to anticipate a 200-point down day, so I need to do it all the way down to 58.16. So, excuse me, 57.16. Oh, that's right, 58.16. Let's see, 60.16, 59.16, 58.16. I'll just do a little bit more to make sure I have everything handled. 2, 3, I like when they get spread out like that. And then I have these levels down here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that gets me down from 60.77. That gets me 400 ES points down. I don't imagine we're going to go further than that. There's an important, this is the top of a gap fill, so the other thing I would mark off for people to remember is that there's going to be a retail gap fill in that gap, approximately right, this is a white bar down, approximately 56.77 to 56.85. So I just had that marked off differently. Just call that a green gap fill. Just do it like this. That's the gap fill there. This is a major swing low, that 57.34, and then the retest of it brought us to 57.56. I definitely, between 56 and 57.34, would like to kind of hunt down along in that area. And then if I have to come back and put in levels below 5,600, I'll do it this evening. But I think this is going to be a 100 to 150 point gap down and run down total. And then we trap shorts. We'll be looking for those patterns to trap shorts I don't know that for a fact. I'll trade what I see in front of me, and I'll have a specific process for knowing when they're trapped. And if I'm going to err, I'm going to err on the side of not doing anything versus being overly aggressive and getting taken out, which means definitely no trading within the first hour. I will let someone else who's far smarter and far brighter from me figure out that first hour bullshit when everyone's trading, right? So the next thing I'm going to do is take these levels. And you can really see there's not that many of them, and this covers hundreds of points. So what I'll do is I'll just break this up. I'll go ahead and post that to the room, and on Twitterville you can see me at Trade and Perform. That's how you find me, at TRADE, the letter N, and PERFORM. That's my Twitter handle. You can email me with the same name, tradeandperform@gmail.com, if you're interested in the process. Let's get the, take a quick picture of this. And that's what my levels below will look like for tonight. I might modify them once I look closer. I'll show you how I would modify them from there. So let's grab them and post them to Twitter. I just posted it up on Twitter, and I'll post it in Slack. Okay, and then let's go. So things that I'll add in there obviously are what I'm interested in as I go bigger and bigger here, right? Is I'm very interested in where the wicks are as we come back and look through this. For example, when we get into these wicks, like let's say we were going to gap down tonight. So the market will be quite volatile in the first hour, so I won't mess with that. There's just not enough liquidity in NQ and early Asia. I just don't feel like getting run over, and I'll have, as I've been demonstrating in the room and will continue to demonstrate in the room, I'll have multiple areas, but one of the that I can trade from. But one of the things I want to make sure is I also know where these big long wicks are on the hourly. Those are secondary levels, or I would like to combine where these white lines are lining up that also have confluence with big wicks associated with them. Those tend to be stronger, and the reason why is quite simple. If you have a big wick someplace, you tend to get a response back up out of those areas. So I'll be looking to trade, this is important, in those wicks tomorrow on pushes down once I see that buyers have stepped back in and they're pushing up. Again, two things: you can skip the first hour in Asia, let it establish. The other thing you can do is you can wait till the first hour is done tomorrow. Let them do what they got to do, and then come just be on the cleanup team. There's plenty of opportunity. You don't have to trade. This is specifically to my teammates. You don't have to be the first one in, right? That's all there is to it. Let's go do NQ really quick. Here's my NQ levels. I'm going to do the exact same thing. So what you may want to do on NQ, so obviously I expect a gap down below this. So in order for these levels to kick in, right, I'm going to want to see a trade below, then a trade back above. So again, I want to show where the virgin areas are, and I would expect down, I mean, 300 to 500 points wouldn't shock me tonight. So we went out at 22,017. So obviously 22,380. That's, you know, um, from 22 down to 21,380. That brings us 700 points down, right? 2,200, 21,380, 6 to 700 points down. And these are my key levels below that have not been tested. Okay. In addition to that, I'm going to add this prior day's low, this prior day's low, and this prior day's low. I think they're going to form little zones. Those areas tend to become important. And I'm going to overlap. So what you saw me do is the virgin areas first. So guys, if you only want to trade the virgin areas, just go mark them off on your charts. I believe the same levels tend to repeat and they create little zones. So I know exactly where to look. It looks close on this chart because it's an hourly chart, but they're really not very close apart. I mean, this is 21,726. This is 21,616. Over 100 points apart. This is 50 points apart. This is 2380 down to 21,288. They're just not that close. If we get a really big down, right, that 21,169.75 is a virgin area. 21,039.75. And then this 21,093, you want to mark the 21,0943, 25, is really key because it was the bottom of the swing that took us to current highs. I'd love to see that taken out and recaptured. I just don't think we will, but anything is possible. So now as I come back to the left, I can see that these levels here were quite important. And I like to find them where they're clustered because I know when we have areas that are clustered, right, that they tend to hold when they get tested. See all this is going to lay over, and what you'll see is you'll go, oh, 40 to 400. We keep getting a response in general out of that area, right? So if you need the virgin areas only, just mark off the virgin areas, guys. But I like both to find where prior day's lows are, and I like to see where they repeat in close sequence. And what you'll see is you move this out, right? So the first thing I would say is 21,450 down to 21,410. That's an important area. We had a big cluster of prior day's Globex lows and lows set in that area, right? And the best would be, as you can see, lose 21,410, right? Lose 21,410, recapture it, push back up. That would 21,410 from where we closed on Sunday, which would be 2,200, right? Would be about 600 points down. I would expect a response in general in this area. Then go put the pieces together with the algo as to exactly what we're looking for. Okay, I'm going to put a lot of levels here just to make sure we capture everything. So these, again, I've highlighted the virgin areas, and guys, you have the same chart I have that are in the room. Just go mark those off. If you're not in my room, that's fine. Just mark off prior day's lows and Globex lows. That's all we're doing here to look for levels, right? Okay, so here, right? See if you have anything in here. I don't mark off the prior day's high. I don't mark off the Globex high. I'm isolating on those prior day's lows. You can see we have a really big gap down at 25.91, and that takes me down 25.91, brings me down from 22,100, 1,600 points. If we're down more than 1,600, I'm probably not trading anyways, so I'm going to leave it at that. And this is just a massive gap area that needs to be cleaned up, and I'll worry about it if I get below 25.91. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, and guys, if you need to blow this up, just blow it up, right? So I'm going to put from 22,017 all the way down to 29,04. So that brings us 22 over 1,000 points, right, to the downside, and I'll post more if I need to. So I'm going to take a picture of that. Okay, And now I'd like to take a minute, guys, to get you focused on what I want y'all to look at. And before going to the algo, we're going to go to the time-spaced bars. Okay, so the 5-minute will be too fast. I don't want to rely on the 5-minute. So tonight I'll be on a 15-minute bar. Let's see where my NQ 15-minute is. It's right there, and I want to show you what I'm looking for. Okay, so I want to go find a gap down or a trend down. So here, this is perfect. See how overnight we gap down. Okay, and see that first 15-minute bar? There's a couple things that are critical. This is on 5/18, Sunday night. Give me just a second, guys, please. I need 5 minutes to finish this video for the room. Okay, no problem. Thank you. So, okay, so see this area here? So the first clue that we were going to trade higher coming into this 5/18 is we closed on a 15-minute bar above the opening rotation. That's going to set your initial balance. I'm going to use a 15-minute instead of a 5-minute because I don't want to get chopped up, right? You can see here, once we got the point of control underneath that 15-minute, and remember, this is going to be pretty wide stuff, right? So you see, once we got the point of control above on a positive bar, this is my positive bar. Once we got the 15-minute above, it didn't violate below. But a back test into this wouldn't be abnormal, right? But you can see you get the negative bar right here where the point of control gets underneath. The yellow line's the point of control, guys. If you're looking for momentum, you don't want to, this is 21,492. You don't want to see it above 21,527. Yes, that's 75 points. But that gives you the range of what you're looking for. We're going to be dealing with wide, fast markets just the way it is, right? So the next thing you'll notice when we're going down, right, is you'll see a couple of things. See, once we clear above these white bars are important. You've got to get a point of control above these white bars. And once you get the point of control above these white bars, you should not get a point of control back below. It is a negatory thing. It's fine for it to come back and test up below this green bar, but you do not want a solid down bar on a 15-minute to close underneath. And you will see again and again when that happens, right? You want to mark off the top of that white bar, and you want a green bar with a point of control above. Top of that white bar, and again, you'll notice once you get the top of that white bar, see how you got this bar right here where the point of control got above, and you'll notice this bar, these bars are divergent. You'll see you don't get a gray bar with a point of control back underneath, and it opens the lead for the push to the upside, right? The other thing that you are looking for, guys, using the algo, is you are looking for the for these light green bars. So let me show you this, 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 and then what you're looking for. So what you are looking for very specifically is the close above, and then to get that bar backside tested and get a response above it. Again, it's it would have been this bar right here, close above, and then get it backside tested. Yes, sometimes it takes off, but you're working on both capital preservation and capital appreciation, right? So that is what you're looking for. And again, you'll see here, you get above, they push at 5 in the morning, they come back to a backside test right into the 830, and they launch, right? I want to show you what that looks like on ES. This is the 15-minute on ES. Same algos. I don't go far enough back here, but it's the same principle. See how we get this light green bar here, right here? Once we close above, you need that to get buyers in control, and what you do want is for them to come and test the top of that bar, which it didn't do till 10:15. But you'll see they come all the way back to the top of this bar right here, to right here, and they get a responsive buy off of it, right? Same thing here. You get this light green bar right here. They close above. This bar is going to become support. Specifically the top of the bar and the 50 retrace of that specific bar. And again, you want that, you want to get confirmation of a close above See how these don't get a close above? None of these get a close above. No, no, no. And then it's the same on the down bars. When you get these white bars are also going to become support on the backside test the following day. But we're more concerned about getting into the trade and managing it properly. So again, two things. I want to go to a down day, so I'm going to add more days to this really quick. So I can get a down day in there. I think 618, 67, something like that was a trend down day. We had a gap down in here somewhere. Here, I'm going to use this as an example. See here, once I get the green bar. Okay, so two things. See how this is the scene of the crime, this is the open drive lower. You'll see once I get above that, that starts to trend up. All those shorts are trapped underneath. But this also starts to trend up. You get the close above. Now I'm looking for the push back in, and I'm looking for the algos to help me set me up. It sets the tone, and I don't have to guess. The other thing I'm going to be doing, and this is important, see how these bars all bash down? 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I get my green bar up, right? I am looking to where these wicks are located, right, to look for my long on a retest. You don't always get it. It doesn't matter. It's just when you get it, they become valuable. Okay? So again, if I push away from this, that I believe that's a divergent bar up. When it comes back in, test for the wick, pushes back up, and I can show you multiple examples of where those long wicks are, and I can just wait for them, right? So see over here on this Wednesday coming into the US Open, right? Everyone in the room knows I'd be marking this off right here and having this whole zone highlighted. As a matter of fact, you can see when they broke it, they backside tested it, pushed back down, right? Again, when I'm over here and I'm looking for location, right? See how I've pushed up? I'm looking to get into these wicks, looking for longs back in over here when that happens. So when you have a big nasty trend down, right? Okay, so a couple of things happen here that you can look at. See how you get this wick at the bottom, but now you're looking, you'd like to get more than one bar up. In this case, you just get white, green, but now you close above, right? See how it comes back to test where those wicks are? You want a verification bar in front and then make the trip. This process here, this is over an hour in the making before it gives you the prime entry to go. Again, if this was my trade here, right, where I'd want to see is this bar above and then my long. Now, clearly, this is a 50-60 retrace back over here, and there's other ways to figure out if that trade would have worked, but that's one way to find that trade that I would have been looking for. Again, one thing I would do here, see how you have these tweezers bottoms here? So this is a good example of where I would have missed. Why would have I missed? Because on this right shoulder, I would have wanted it to wick in here and then do this. I would have looked for my trade over here. I just didn't get it. That's fine. I might have found other ways to get it using the smaller algo bars, but it tells me where to go look, right? And then the other thing I want to point out, see how this started the open drive lower? Right here, this started this trend down. Once I close above it, that's going to become support on that backside test for this push out. Do not doubt once they get above here that they will attempt to push. It happens very often. So if you look, right, if you look how this process is working, this is the last strong push down. You get above, backside test into it. This is the 50 retrace of this white bar. Off it goes onto the races, right? Again, this was where I would say the scene of that crime was for the last roll to the low. You can see once we get the point of control above, off it rips. These are basic ideas that you have to have an understanding of what they're going to do to the market. The other thing I want to point out is when you bring this back over to the left, right? When you bring it back to the left, see this big old wick right over here? See that big wick with that white bar on that 15-minute? What that wick tells me is someone tried to buy and they got rejected really hard. Then they broke out on top of it. And if you look at that whole area, look how they treated the giant wick, right? All the way down here. right? So now if you go look at that, you'll see they bounced right off the top of that bar. And then they came in, and see where that giant long wick is that's overlapping this down wick? This is the area they're going to be looking for longs. Now if you look within that context, they pushed. This is the last strong white bar down. They close above, confirming this bar. They backside test the first light green bar, which tells you there's a lot of volume in it, and off they push, right? So now, since this is a preview or a review of what we're looking for, I'm going to go down to the 24 tick. I want to show you what I am looking for, right? Which is this. And guys, I'll do a separate video on my line trades shortly. It'll be a separate topic. I'll do it later this afternoon. But I want to show you something. If I was just freestyling this, right? I did not intend to show this trade, but I want to. Okay, this is a trade for y'all to observe. We're working on algoing it and adding it to the algo collection, but look, when these algos, I'm trying to explain how this pushes down. First of all, see when you have the green bars inside where I'm going to highlight. Let me go back here real quick. If on Friday I were to highlight where I wanted to trade, it would look like this off the 15-minute. Okay, so I'm looking Friday. I want to show you this, okay? See this white bar down? I'm going to mark the 50-60 of that bar. This is a slightly new process, okay, but not tremendously. That 50 retrace of that white bar, that would have been a level for me, okay? But in addition, I want to look for where I had the wicks off to the left last time where I recaptured. So I would have had this level, if I'm just highlighting a zone, like this, marked off. Why? That's my left shoulder, and that's my right shoulder, right? Secondly, if you look at this last white bar down, see once we get the green bar up above the last white bar down, that tells you that they are attempting to change the direction, particularly once you get a point of control above as well, right? But I would have had this highlighted. I'm going to tell you what else I would have had highlighted. I would have had this highlighted right here, that tweezer's bottom, along with the wick, right, coming into Friday morning. And we're going to go look and see how that would have traded. And then I can also tell you I would have had this tweezer's bottom for the backside test highlighted. So why? Because there's a tweezer's bottom there. This should all fall in with what I've been discussing prior to what are important areas on the charts, right? So go look at how this got treated. Outside, and I'm going to tell you I missed this open drive lower, but now go to your 24 tick. Well, a lot of lines. Hold on a second. Let me erase from the hourly. It's a little too much. There we go. So the first thing you'll see is all those wicks. See how far down? This is where we opened up here. And look how far down we got before we started getting the algos. So I'm just going to mark them off. You can decide whether it was legit or not legit. 1, white bar stuffed. 2, nothing here. Green bar up after white bar stuffed. Green bar up stopped. Green bar yellow dot. These stops are roughly 20 points on NQ, which is very reasonable, right? If you need to reduce your size so you don't get blown out of the water, instead of using one contract, use five or six micros. Green bar up, launch. Again, white bar with yellow dot. I love that. I was on a bit of tilt on Friday, and so I already stopped trading by now. I was protecting my capital from what I made in the morning. I missed the open drive lower. I had internet issues, and so I chose to protect capital instead of trying to gain capital, which is fine. I was not in a position to do a good job. Again, you get into this area, get over, white bar stuffed. Yellow dot up. No trade here for me. White bar stuffed. Again, 1 bar stop on that. White bar stuffed, kind of high end. That one worked, right? Keep watching as you come down. White bar stuffed, green bar up. I would have gotten stopped on this only because we were in the back of that zone. I would have looked for a push. I would have missed this, right? Again, I probably attempted this green bar up on the turn there. Had I been trading, I wasn't. Again, that's something I would have taken very early in the morning. So let me summarize. The wicks off the hourly, the bottom of the wick, and the bottom of the body. 2 very important areas. Mark them off with your light green bars. Zone out where the big wicks are off your 15-minute bars. Okay, and then the last piece is plug in the algos that you know you can take in those areas and focus on, I would focus on the green bars with 1 bar stops, and then scalp off your risk and see if you can push. As y'all know, when we're in the room, we usually can put all the pieces together for multiple time frames, and we understand what the key areas that we're looking for. Prior days lows, highs. We're looking for recaptures, and then all this is doing is keeping us from having massive stops on these trades. So until this evening, this is what I'm going to post. Please post your questions. I hope this helps, guys. We should be able to make a lot of money, and you do not have to trade tomorrow. I've got to go. You do not have to trade tomorrow. Whatever you do, protect capital first, make money second. Talk to you later, guys.